Welcome to a small country with an impressively diverse geography. Desert in the south, snow-capped mountains in the north, and a substantial stretch of coastline with climates that vary widely. How can such a small country carry so much meaning? In Israel, innovation is not just a choice, it's a necessity. In a land where drinking water was once nearly unattainable, the breakthrough came from the waves. Israel built one of the world's largest desalination complexes, turning salt into a resource and providing water for millions. And that's only the beginning. In a region where threats can arise at any moment, Israel developed the Iron Dome, a cutting-edge missile defense system that intercepts rockets and protects urban areas in a matter of seconds. These high-tech solutions not only bolster Israel's security, but also place the country among the world's leading hubs of innovation, one of the key reasons it's earned the nickname Startup Nation. Now, you're about to experience this reality firsthand, traveling through places that breathe history, culture, and faith. Jerusalem, sacred to three of the world's major religions. Tel Aviv, buzzing with energy and modernity. And the Dead Sea, where the extreme salinity and surreal landscape make everything feel out of this world. But why does Israel attract so much attention? Backed by a high-tech sector and a GDP exceeding $390 billion, the country far surpasses the expectations its small size might suggest. Here, diversity is not a detail, it's identity. Jews, Arabs, Christians, and many immigrants from the former Soviet Union live side by side. The result? A country with three official languages, Hebrew, Arabic and English, and a culture that expresses itself in unique ways, from daily life to tourism, and through the economy. And what if this very diversity is the secret to what makes Israel so unique? Does that make sense to you? Israel is full of fascinating facts. Besides having a highly educated population, the country requires both men and women to serve in the military straight after finishing secondary school. For men, service lasts 3 years. For women, 2. Those aiming to rise in rank, such as becoming a captain, often serve an additional year. Interestingly, many spend about a year living at home afterwards, working, saving money, and traveling the world in a kind of rite of passage, only then applying to university, which means most graduate around the age of 28. Would you be brave enough to take on this rite of passage and travel the world before even starting university? Think about that while you watch this video. Want to get to know the so-called Startup Nation better? Then stick with me until the end and discover how all of this comes to life in the most surprising places, in the stories and curiosities that make Israel a true wonder. A stone-built city that seems to glow from within as the sun goes down, with alleyways where the scent of baking bread and spices leads your steps. This is Jerusalem. In the old city, everything is arranged into 4 quarters: Jewish, Muslim, Christian, and Armenian. And without even noticing, you cross invisible borders of atmosphere within just a few meters. On one side, the western wall gathers murmurs and tiny notes tucked between stones. Above it, the Dome of the Rock dominates the skyline with its unmistakable golden shine. And nearby streets lead you to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where art, candles, and silence mingle, as though sound itself shows reverence. You visit because here, your pace changes. Every corner calls for a pause, only to return you to life through its markets, cafes, and viewpoints. What's rare is feeling both contemplation and energy in the same day, as if time itself were elastic, and you were always on the verge of discovering something beyond your mental map. To get here, land at the country's international airport and take a train to the central station. From there, trams and buses bring you close to the gates. Walk the final stretch, wear sturdy shoes, for the uneven stones carry water, and set aside a late afternoon for Machain Yehuda market. Between Friday sunset and Saturday sunset, plan your shopping and transport ahead of time as part of the city slows down, and that too is part of the charm. A stretch of wide beaches washed by the Mediterranean, where locals and tourists gather as if the whole city had agreed to watch the same sunset. That's Tel Aviv. By day, you ride along seaside cycle paths, see people playing football on the sand, and just minutes later, find yourself in the White City, a collection of over 4,000 buildings in Bauhaus style, with clean lines and pale facades, giving the city an effortless, sunlit elegance. By night, Tel Aviv transforms, living up to its nickname, the city that never sleeps. Doors open, music spills onto the pavement, and every corner seems to offer a new version of the same electric energy. What changes everything is that this buzz isn't just a party, it's creation. The spirit of the startup nation pulses strongly here, turning the city into a global hub for technological development, drawing talent and investment from all over the world, as though the next big idea might be born between a coffee and a swim. To visit without rushing or wasting time, arrive through the country's main international airport and take the train into the city. Then walk, cycle, or use scooters, because distances shrink when you follow the seafront. Save the late afternoon for Jaffa, and if your trip falls during Shabbat, check schedules in advance. The city's rhythm changes, and it's exactly in that shift that Tel Aviv reveals a different kind of flavor. A deep blue mirror, surrounded by rocky mountains and desert plains, with shores that shimmer like crystallized salt. That's the Dead Sea. It lies at the lowest point on Earth, over 400 meters below sea level, and the landscape carries an almost extraterrestrial feel, as if the horizon were always slightly out of place. The water is so dense that your body floats effortlessly, and this strangeness quickly turns into laughter, because here, even a simple gesture like sitting and smiling feels choreographed by the salt itself. Why does a dip in the water feel like gravity has changed its mind? The waters of the Dead Sea have been renowned for thousands of years for their therapeutic properties, rich in minerals like magnesium, calcium, and potassium. They attract visitors seeking relief for skin and joints. The most classic ritual happens at the shoreline, where visitors cover themselves with the region's dark mud, also full of nutrients said to renew and hydrate. But this comfort comes with a sting. Even the smallest cut burns, a reminder that this place is powerful and demands respect. To visit, plan it as a day trip from Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, whether by tour, bus, or car, and arrive early to avoid the most intense heat. Wear water shoes. Don't submerge your face. Protect your eyes, bring drinking water, and rinse off afterwards to leave with light skin and a quiet mind. An imposing fortress perched on a cliff in the Judean desert, suspended around 600 meters above the Dead Sea, is Masada. From the top, the ruins spread out like a stone chessboard. Terraces, corridors, cisterns, and viewpoints, where the wind whistles low and silence seems to have texture. The stones still bear traces of ancient routines, and you find yourself imagining what it was like to wake up here. Surrounded by emptiness and horizon, with the sense that the entire world was far below. What changes when you realize a place can be both beautiful and severe at the same time? The moment that often becomes a memory is sunrise on the plateau. Many begin the climb in the early hours, when the air is cold and the sky is pitch black, waiting for the first rays to light up the desert and make the Dead Sea gleam like liquid metal among shadows. To get there, you can take the cable car and save your energy, or face the famous snake path, which winds up the hillside and rewards each turn with ever broader views. Bring water, a hat, sun cream, and an extra layer for the early hours. Wear sturdy shoes for the loose stones. And if you're hiking in the dark, even a small torch makes a difference. Set aside time at the top, not just to photograph, but to breathe. Because that's when the historical weight of the place truly reaches you. If you love discovering new cultures, uncovering fascinating facts about countries and cities around the world, and you're always chasing that next story that'll leave you speechless, then this channel is for you. Like, subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our content. And if you know someone who also loves exploring the world, share it with them. Let's turn every video into a brand new adventure together. A city that leans at the foot of Mount Carmel and spills towards the Mediterranean with sloping streets, balconies, and a port that never seems to sleep. This is Haifa. Here, neighbouring districts reflect different heritages, and synagogues, churches, and mosques blend naturally into the landscape, creating a soft sense of coexistence that defines the north of the country. Its most iconic postcard view: the Baha'i Gardens, 19 perfectly aligned terraces cascading down the hillside with fountains, flowers, and perspectives that make the whole city feel like an amphitheatre of light. From the top, Mount Carmel becomes a lookout, and by late afternoon, the sea stretches out like a blue blade, disappearing into the horizon. You visit because Haifa balances motion and pause. While the port is one of the region's busiest, with ships constantly arriving and departing, the higher areas offer breeze, shade, and silence. Take your time, wandering down through the German colony. Breathe in the scent of coffee and spices, and notice how the lights from balconies seem to guide your steps. When night falls, the city's cultural scene comes alive in museums, theatres, and bars, and Haifa changes pace without losing its elegance. To get there, take the coastal train from Tel Aviv, and once in the city, use a mix of buses, taxis, and the Carmelite to navigate the hills. One trick: start from the top. Visit the gardens and viewpoints first, then walk your way down and end the day at the beach, where the Mediterranean seals the experience. A city of gentle hills, filled with narrow alleyways, lively voices, colourful shop fronts, and the smell of freshly baked bread mixed with spices. This is Nazareth. For many Christians, the city holds special significance. As tradition says, this is where Jesus spent his childhood and youth, a belief that changes the way you walk through it. Everyday life here feels meaningful without ever ceasing to be everyday life. In the centre, the Basilica of the Annunciation stands out with its striking architecture and spacious interior, linked to the tradition of the angel Gabriel's message to Mary. Inside, mosaics and artworks depict Mary, with different faces and styles from around the world, a heartfelt map of global devotion. Just a few steps away, the Church of St. Joseph offers a simpler, more welcoming atmosphere, believed to be built over Joseph's ancient carpentry workshop. You visit because Nazareth blends silence and movement in the same minute. You step into a cool, quiet interior, and as you leave, you're back to the market, cafes, stairways, and slopes, as if the city were always switching between breath and heartbeat. Getting there is easy. Nazareth fits well into an itinerary from Haifa or the Sea of Galilee region, whether by bus, car, or organised tour. Go early to walk in cooler air, wear comfortable shoes, and bring a light layer. The wind shifts quickly in the hills. An ancient walled port city on the Mediterranean coast, where the salt in the air clings to your skin and the stones seem to hold memories. This is Acre. Recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it's a treasure for anyone who loves history and architecture. Gates, narrow alleyways, fragrant markets, and above all, tall ramparts that still embrace the old city. These fortifications date back to the Crusader era. They were built to withstand sieges and invasions, and today remain so imposing that you can almost hear the echo of footsteps and whispered commands from long-forgotten knights. But the real magic lies beneath the surface. Below street level, cool, dark tunnels, once used as secret passages, lead through stone corridors that reveal defensive strategies, hidden chambers, and a delightful sense of discovery, as if the city had a second, silent heartbeat underground. When you return to the light, the port appears again, with boats, fishing nets, and history turning into present-day life through the scent of grilled fish and spices. If you're into photography, wait for the afternoon light. It turns the stones to copper and makes the shadows dance near the sea. To visit, take the train, then complete the journey by taxi or bus to the old city. Once inside, walk slowly, wear sturdy shoes, and start early. Save the ramparts for sunset when the sea turns to gold. A vast and surprising stretch that covers over 60% of the country. This is the Negev Desert. Here the ground shifts between rocky plains, soft dunes, deep canyons and reddish cliffs in a palette that ranges from beige to copper, as though the earth had been sanded down to reveal its inner layers. But the Negev is not just isolation. It's also a land of archaeological discoveries and natural formations that intrigue scientists and draw adventurers deep into the silence. The great highlight is the Ramon crater, a maktesh, a rare type of erosion found almost exclusively in this region. It stretches for nearly 40 kilometers, reaching up to 10 kilometers wide, exposing rocks that are millions of years old, a raw window into the geological history of the Earth. And just when you think it's all nature, human traces appear. Ancient Nabatean caravan routes, fortress ruins, and stone roads that still sketch paths across the emptiness. To visit, base yourself in Mitzpe Ramon. Set off early to watch the low light ignite the crater and combine scenic viewpoints with short hikes. If you're up for more, an off-road vehicle tour takes you to remote lookouts without wearing you out. And at night, the Milky Way feels almost within reach. Bring plenty of water, sun protection, and a light layer for the evening, as the cold sets in quickly once the sun disappears. A golden stone amphitheatre resting against the Mediterranean Sea, where ancient arches still hold the wind. This is Caesarea Maritima. Here you can feel Herod the Great's ambition without needing a history lesson. Roman ruins of pale limestone still face the sea, as if in a contest to see which shines brighter. You walk among broken columns, mosaics and open corridors, and suddenly realize the sound of the waves is the perfect soundtrack to this open-air museum. In the archaeological park, the Roman theatre still hosts performances, and just the idea of watching something here changes your posture, as if the body understands the audience before the mind does. Just a few steps away, the ancient hippodrome stretches its arena and makes you imagine the thunder of chariot races, dust rising, wheels clashing, and the crowd holding its breath. Nearby, the aqueduct draws a line of arches across the sand, and in the shallow blue water, you can spot submerged traces of what was once one of the largest artificial ports of antiquity. It's strange to think that much of this engineering lies underwater, invisible, and yet it still guides your steps, as if the past were quietly shaping the present. To visit, arrive early, bring water and sun protection, wear comfortable shoes, and give yourself time to sit, observe, and let the light transform the place. Save the aqueduct for sunset, and if you can, end the day with a peaceful swim. A mirror of liquid silver, embraced by fertile hills and ancient volcanic mountains. This is the Sea of Galilee, the largest freshwater lake in Israel. At dawn, the surface lies still, almost wave-free, and the air smells of water and grass. Wooden boats glide slowly while stone churches, orchards, and old villages dot the horizon. Along the shore, Tiberias rises with basalt stone walls and buildings, a striking contrast to the lake's soft glow, and you feel that the rest here is physical. Your gaze slows, your chest opens, conversations soften. The magic isn't just in the landscape, but in the way everything seems to fit in the same frame. Nature, simple food, and that feeling of being in a refuge that doesn't need to prove anything. To visit, use Tiberias as your base, and arrive early to watch the changing light. Get around by bus, taxi or car between scenic viewpoints and small beaches. Always bring water and a light layer for the breeze. If you come from the north, the road is short. If from Haifa, you can arrive in under 2 hours, and the journey is already part of the charm. At lunch, try the traditional St. Peter's fish, and when your body calls for rest, end the day in the city's thermal baths, letting the lake continue to shine just outside. A green carpet that appears between dry hills, like an unexpected oasis in the Middle East. This is the Jezreel Valley. The landscape blends geometric fields, orchards, and greenhouses, and the air smells of warm earth just after irrigation. Here, modernity meets agricultural tradition. Advanced drip systems make use of every drop, and even under dry skies, fruits, vegetables, and grains appear in abundance, supplying much of the country. Up close, thin pipes work silently, tracing almost invisible lines that keep the soil alive. Mountains and hills frame the valley, concentrating light and colour. In spring, wildflowers suddenly erupt, like blazes of red and yellow. But this green also carries an ancient echo. The valley is mentioned in biblical texts, and for many, it sets the scene for stories that have travelled through centuries, linked to figures like Deborah and Gideon. Walking along a quiet country road, hearing birds and spotting tractors in the distance, while imagining age-old tales under the same sky, brings a strange sense of continuity. To visit, go by car, start early to catch the soft morning light, and stop unhurriedly at lookouts, farms and cafes. Bring water, a hat and a light jacket for the late afternoon, and let a smaller road choose your next view. If you can, try the local honey, fresh pressed olive oil, and fruit picked straight from the tree. The flavour here has the same freshness as the breeze. And when the sun dips low, notice how the green turns to gold and everything seems even quieter. A plateau of soft curves and rugged mountains, where green suddenly appears over dark stone. This is the Golan Heights. The road climbs, and with it, the air grows colder, the light sharper, the silence wider. The volcanic soil, rich in minerals, gives the vineyards a character you can sense even before the first sip. The smell of damp earth, leaves shimmering in the breeze, and rows of grapes lined up as if following the land's contours. Here, nature and flavour walk side by side, and the region has become a favourite for those seeking hikes, scenic viewpoints, and a well-chosen glass of wine. Many visitors tour the wineries, see the barrels, learn about fermentation, and end with tastings of award-winning labels, paired with local cheeses and open views to the horizon. At certain times of the year, the scenery changes almost impossibly. Mount Hermon becomes blanketed in snow, turning into one of the rare places in the country where you can ski, a striking contrast to the heat dominating other regions. If you follow smaller roads, you'll find hidden streams, cool woodlands, and basalt lookouts, and each stop feels like a secret whispered by the wind. To visit calmly, drive from the north, start early to enjoy the gentle light, bring a jacket for the wind, and sturdy shoes for short hikes. Save the late afternoon for a lookout. When the sun begins to set, the plateau turns to gold, and you understand why so many people come back. A turquoise-blue ribbon of water, so clear you can see the fish move before you even step in, surrounded by copper-coloured dry mountains. This is Eilat on the Red Sea. The first impression is contrast. Desert all around, living sea in front, and a bright light that makes everything look like a film set. As you approach the shore, the world changes sound, the warm wind stays behind, and the water seems to pull you into a blue silence full of little glimmers. In just a few minutes, you're floating above reefs, beginning to understand why so many come here not just to sunbathe, but to enter another dimension of colour. You visit because Eilat is both rest and adventure in the same place. In the morning, snorkeling and diving reveal coral, fish, and a constant sense of discovery. In the afternoon, a seaside promenade of cafes and soft music brings you back to human rhythm, and the sunset paints the mountains like embers. If you want a detour that seems impossible on the same day, Timna Park places you among carved rocks and a vast sky, as if the desert had its own ocean made of stone. To visit, fly, or take a coach from the main cities, then get around by local bus, taxi, or walking along the promenade. Bring swimwear, reef shoes, sun protection and plenty of water, and schedule your sea activities for the morning, when visibility is usually at its best. Maybe you arrived thinking Israel would be just a compact destination, easy to tick off on the map. But after travelling these paths, what stays is something else. The sense that a place can fit in the palm of your hand and still hold an entire world within. It's as if every curve was drawn to pull you out of autopilot, forcing you to notice how you feel. The heat buzzing on your skin, the breeze shifting its scent, the light turning stone into gold and water into mirror. In Jerusalem, you learned that steps can slow down without losing intensity. In Tel Aviv, you discovered that the city that never sleeps isn't just noise. It's invention, movement, people living as if the next great idea were hidden in a cafe. At the Dead Sea, gravity played with you, and for a few minutes, life felt almost too light to be true. In Masada, the sunrise reminded you there are places that don't ask for explanation, only presence. Then the north opened other doors. Haifa showed you that coexistence can also be a landscape, in perfect terraces stepping down the mountain like layers of calm. Nazareth brought the cultural weight of ancient traditions, and at the same time, the simplicity of an ordinary street, where the silence inside a cool church contrasts with the vibrant market outside. Acre took you beneath the surface, through tunnels that still seem to hold secrets. Caesarea placed you before the sea, with the feeling that ruins still know how to speak to the waves. By the Sea of Galilee, the day softened, with wooden boats gliding like thoughts. And a simple meal proved that travel also happens through taste. In the Jezreel Valley, you saw technology and land working together, making green grow where the climate resists, and understood that abundance can be built drop by drop. In the Golan Heights, the wind turned cold, the volcanic soil gave wine its character, and the idea of snow in a land of deserts felt like a small trick of the world. And then came Eilat, with that blue that seems unreal, like diving into a final layer of surprise. The reef returned, colours no screen can capture, and the desert around it, like in Timnah, reminded you that stone too can be an ocean, just one that doesn't move. Now, before closing this video, take a moment of honesty. Which of these scenes stayed with you? What would you do if you could relive just one moment? No photo, no rush, just to feel it again. Because the journey is the one that continues when you return. It appears when a street gains new details, when a scent transports you, when a sunset reminds you that time has texture. Maybe Israel didn't give you answers. Maybe it gave you better questions. And what if your next destination is hidden in the way you now see the world? Keep that thought in your heart.